Welcome to Apex Live. Have you ever wondered about the e-commerce of modest fashion? Or perhaps what does it really take to place Oman on an international fashion platform? Join us as we head out to have a conversation with the designer herself. So Amal, let's talk about your 11-year journey in Oman, and a lot has changed in the 11 years. So how would you describe as the fashion scene in Oman? The landscape of fashion has changed over the past 11 years.
It has changed a lot. I mean, 11 years back, it was much more difficult than it is nowadays. Fashion was not that popular, and being a fashion designer was something like not common.
Yes.
Nowadays, you see much more fashion designers. The fashion scene is like more appreciated, I can say. So it was much harder to break through 11 years back.
Right. But there was also a shift in, say, the color patterns, you know? The black abaya has now been replaced by colorful abayas. More colors are coming through. And that is something that's always been in the history of Oman, you know?
Yes.
Colors. And now you're just going back to the colors.
It's been very common 11 years back. But nowadays, because women are more into fashion. Fashion is more appreciated. People are looking at, women are looking at what's happening around them. They're more exposed to what's happening in fashion worldwide, and they try to adopt it in a way that suits their culture. So it's not anymore only wearing a black abaya. They try to be trendy in a way that suits the culture. So you see more trendy abayas, more colorful abayas, more abayas with details. And that's where the change is happening, you know.
Moving forward, talking about the e-commerce of modest fashion, a lot of bigger brands have understood that there is a potential market for modest fashion, and they are tapping into it. So as an Arab designer, do you think you have an upper hand when it comes to this?
Yes, definitely. The international designers realize that the clients in this region are potential clients. So they're starting to try to adopt to the culture and make something that suits them. And definitely this is so good for us as regional designers, because we know our culture better than them. Like Dolce & Gabbana tried to create a abaya, and that was a failure.
Yes.
So like they do their international designs in the best way, but we know better in our culture. An Arab designer would definitely design an abaya in a better way than an international designer, because we know how to wear it.
Right.
You know?
So did you think 10 years ago that modest fashion would ever become such a huge commercial success?
I don't think the picture was very clear back then. It's only when the international designers realized that the Arab woman is their potential client, that's when they started trying to get into this market and become, or maybe design things that suit the culture, to have more of clients from this region.
Right. Do you think that the economy affects the buying power when it comes to luxury fashion brands? Or do you think that irrespective of what's happening, that's one thing that's not touched or unaffected?
No, of course it does, but then the market is always active, you know. Women always want to look pretty, always have an occasion to buy something luxurious and things like that. So it's never having a dead period. It's always active.
Right. Amal, moving forward, you spoke about how as an Arab woman you know the culture, and you know that reflects heavily in your design. Now your designs, they borrow heavily from Oman's heritage, culture. I think your last collection was about the archaeological site at Al Balid and all.
Yes.
So how does that come about? Like, you know, how do you think about these things, and where is the line that you draw between Western influences and Omani cultural heritage that you borrow in your designs?
I had a very clear goal when I decided that I want to move to the regional market, and moving regional then international. I don't want to go to Paris and copy all the designers in Paris, because then I'll be lost in translation. For me, I thought, what would make me unique? It's my culture, because this is the only thing that I know the best. And I also wanted to like I had a goal of putting Oman in the international map, international fashion map, and this is what I'm working towards through taking small stories from Oman. This is something that us Omanis know better than anyone else, and we have so much inspirational sights and scenes and stories in Oman that we can create into beautiful art, beautiful designs that the whole world can see.
So Amal, on an international platform, you have found recognition and you have found your ground because you have been featured in some of the most prominent magazines in the region as an Omani designer, and you even made it big during the Condé Nast conference that had happened in Oman. So how does it feel, the recognition, the responsibility, and you know, just taking your fashion brand ahead?
It's a huge responsibility, but at the same time, it makes me lift the bar up every time, because every time we go through a successful event or a successful season, there's something more to give. So you have to lift the standard to make sure that you achieve more every time.
How do you strike a balance between, say, your creative expression and commercial viability?
Well, that's the most difficult part of this whole thing, because being the creative person and the business owner makes it very difficult to balance between the two. Because from a creative perspective, you can do the most beautiful design, but then if it doesn't sell, there's no use of it. So you have to always, like, I have to always be aware of the market condition, market prices, acceptable prices, and things like that, making sure that the expenses of, I mean, the cost of creating a design is met with the market prices, to make sure that these pieces sell through, you know.
So what is the most beautiful piece of work that you have sold which was very expensive? Like, if you can give me an example about it.
Well, the thing is, I work on my seasonal collections and I do bespoke pieces. So when it comes to bespoke, there's no limits to the price, because it's based on the client's requirements and things like that. But when we talk about the seasonal collections, the RTW and the capsule, I think the most expensive piece was around 600 riyals.
Right.
But normally the prices range between 100 and maximum 250.
Okay. So do you ever see the Amal Al Raisi brand moving, you know, diversifying into, say, retail fashion as well? From a luxury brand, would you even have capsule collections that diversify into retail collections?
The thing is, like in the boutique in Muscat, besides the seasonal collections I have something called the calendar edit. Okay. The calendar edit is something more of a retail pieces that are designed every couple of months, and they're at much lower budget and more capsule and simple and economic pieces. Yes.
Okay. Moving forward, Amal, women and their taste in fashion, has it changed over the years?
It has changed a lot.
Right.
I mean, if you go back to 10 years, women in this region would always request more embellishment, more crystals, more work. Nowadays, they're becoming more simple. They're thinking of, how can I use this piece more than one time? So it's more simple, more basic, more
sustainable, maybe?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amal. Thank you for joining us in conversation.